Well, let's check in on Fox News' The Five once again. Why the heck not? They discussed the big story today, which is that last night at Radio City Music Hall, Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, and President Joe Biden appeared for a bombshell, groundbreaking, historic fundraiser that raised $25 million at that one event in one night. My goodness. And this was good news for the Biden campaign. It's a part of a broader picture, a broader trend we're seeing where Biden's having a much easier time raising money and keeping that money than Donald Trump. I'll show you particular figures on that in just a second. And because of this story coming up, Jessica Tarlov celebrated the strong financial situation that Joe Biden is in and had to break poor Don's heart, mocking his financial situation. And I'll show you later a CNN contributor making an interesting point about the differences in financial situations between Trump and Biden. And I'll show you the polling shift that we've seen, which is very exciting, in Joe Biden's favor. But first, here's Jessica Tarlov.
Jessica. All right. The truth of the matter is that the Biden campaign is doing quite well right now. And raking in $26 million in a night is really good. And Donald Trump hopes to, the figure the AP is putting out there, bring in $33 million next weekend when he has a fundraiser at Mar-a-Lago. I hope you guys will be making fun of him then when he has Vanilla Ice and Kid Rock. Now, the way that he's spending... Oh, I'm sorry. And Kevin Sorbo, maybe?
One can only go.
Well, I'm so excited just thinking about it.
I'll trade Sorbo for Lizzo.
No one will...
So... one thing that I did notice as I was watching a lot of Fox News coverage today, including on The Five, I think they're panicking a little bit because we're just now entering sort of general election campaign mode for both sides. The primaries were going on. Now it's Trump v. Biden. And that fact benefits Joe Biden, we're starting to see. People understanding it's actually, yes, Trump versus Biden again, accept that, then decide how you're going to respond. And as people are deciding how they're going to respond, they're realizing, I'm going to favor Joe Biden. And after Biden's State of the Union address, we saw this huge fundraising surge and a shift in the polling in his direction. And again, we'll touch on that a little bit later. And so the people over at Fox News, for the most part, aside from people like Jessica Tarlov, Trump himself, and the right-wing movement, I think they're freaking out, acknowledging that maybe what we've been pretending like was the case, which is that Biden can't win and there's no chance at all that he could win a fair election, that maybe that's not actually accurate. And I'll talk about, after playing more of these clips, why it is that we're seeing this shift in Biden's favor, why it is that I'm confident as the months go on, things will only look better for Joe Biden. But first, here's a little bit more.
So in the substance of it, though, when you bring in $26 million in a night or $10 million out of the State of the Union, you can do things like open up 10 field offices in North Carolina. It's the first time the Democrats will have a field office in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Super quickly pause your viewing of this video to ask you to click the like button and subscribe to the channel. So important in growing the show. Here's the rest.
We have 36 offices in Wisconsin. That's how you win elections, with ground game, and that's what Donald Trump is hoping to do as well with his legal fees and then field offices, I'm sure, because we're arresting him all the time.
Yes, you have.
I can't stop.
Please do.
You know what the difference is?
Okay. And so she's addressing what they would likely say back to the talking point of Trump's going to have to spend a lot of his cash on his legal troubles. Well, that's just because you, the Democrats, you are arresting him, which of course is not what's going on. And we've talked about that in the past extensively. Before I give more thoughts, just one moment here from Janine.
And, you know, I couldn't help but I was reading about some of the things that were said. And Obama said to a protester, he says, you know, you can't just talk and not listen. That's what the other side does. Well, Mr. President Obama, that's exactly what MSNBC does to Republicans. They do all the talking and they won't listen. And in the end, Donald Trump will outraise Biden by just having people at his club, having dinner with him, because people are fascinated with him. They know he's not going to stumble or mumble or any of that other stuff. And
Trump's not going to stumble or mumble or any of that sort of stuff. Yeah, that's right. Trump never stumbles or mumbles.
Mongers. We are a nation that just recently heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat
and I've shown the full montages in the past, but that one gets me more. His face goes, I know that was just the audio, but yeah, never stumbles or mumbles. And that's why he's going to raise more money at Mar-a-Lago than Joe Biden. Jeanine Pirro is saying, we'll see. He could, maybe. And apparently sitting at dinner with him is just so fascinating. And it was interesting, the cope over Fox News after this event. Well, that was just because Obama was there, or who cares? And Trump could raise more. It's, again, definitely notable what took place last night, this massive fundraiser. But it's a part of a bigger trend. And before diving into that, just a reminder of what Trump's been up to rather often lately.
anything you can do to help. $5, $10, $25, $100, whatever you can do. We're going to make it. We're going to use that money well, and we're going to win because we're dealing against some very sick and corrupt people. Anything you...
Right. So sending out a lot of those sorts of videos, but apparently he's going to bring in 33 mil next week. All right, well, we'll see. Now, here is the cash on hand difference between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. And this CNN contributor hilariously puts it in terms that Trump may be able to understand.
All right, this is some context for you on where we are in the cash race, right? Joe Biden well ahead of Donald Trump in terms of cash on hand at the end of last month. But in terms of money raised, right, Joe Biden's fundraiser tonight, $25 million. Trump, for the entire month of February, only raised $20 million. That's how big that $25 million is. It's a large chunk of change, a historic chunk, as the Biden campaign was hinting at. And again, a little bit more context. How much would Trump need to sell to reach $25 million? You know, he's selling those Bibles, those God Bless the USA Bibles. He would need to sell more than 400,000 of those to reach $25 million. And he would, and remember those Trump Never Surrender sneakers, he would have to sell approximately 62,657 of them. So that's why he's looking forward to that big fundraiser next month. Because simply put, this type of stuff, this gimmicky stuff, ain't going to get him there, Laura.
Okay, so he would have to sell 416,736 God Bless the USA Bibles, as he's now selling, because he's a man of faith, he alleges, to catch up to that night of fundraising for Joe Biden. And like I said, we will see how that fundraiser goes for him at Mar-a-Lago. Now, why is it that I think much of MAGA, especially the pundits who are paying a lot of attention to the ebbs and flows of fundraising and polling and these different things, why do I think they should be at least freaking out a little bit if they want Donald Trump to win? And why we should be not complacent, please, but optimistic and motivated, excited to go out there and win in November? Well, it's because what I'm seeing is as the campaign, as the election season shapes up and sort of the characteristics fall into place of this election and people start to see that and feel that, things are starting to go in Biden's direction. Here is just an approval rating. We've looked at in a past segment the bump in Biden's polling. We're now in recent polls, he's leading Trump by a very narrow margin. But here's his approval rating just to give you a sense. Jumping up. Look at this. Boom. Jumping up just in the last few weeks since the State of the Union address. And why is this so dang exciting to me? Because it means the more people hear from Biden about what he's been doing and what he hopes to do, and the more they acknowledge that Trump is the guy on the other side and he is back in your face, then I think Biden's favored once again. I think that benefits Joe Biden significantly Because we talked about a bunch of times the snap polling from CNN that showed people before the State of the Union address having one view of Joe Biden's policies and if they're bringing the country in the right direction, then the same group of people polled after the State of the Union address. And just watching that speech from Joe Biden convinced, I think, enough to cause a 17 percentage point increase in the number of people who believe Joe Biden's policies are bringing the country in the right direction, up to 62%. From 45 to 62. The numbers are coming back to me, is why I'm now saying them. And that all it took to get that was just people watching Biden's State of the Union address. And so it shows that as people pay more attention, that benefits Biden, not Trump. When people weren't paying as much attention because the election was a far way away, and as Biden was doing the sort of govern quietly, don't tout your successes so much type governing that he does, of course, that was a more beneficial playing field for Donald Trump. But now people are engaging. Biden's clearly energizing people, at least as the fundraising shows. His approval rating going up. And Trump is heading into a disaster of a financial and legal situation. And so as you contemplate all these different elements of the next few months, I think it's only going to help Joe Biden. And as Biden and his surrogates go out there and start really making the case for him, because Biden, as we go over constantly, despite what you'll hear constantly in much of the media, unfortunately, has a really strong record to run on and has a good economic record, a great record on bringing down crime, a great legislative record to go out there and make the case on. And then you throw into this the stunning motivation behind fighting for politically reproductive freedoms and races like what we saw in Alabama with a Democrat winning because of reproductive freedoms, and all the different elections we've talked about that have been heavily impacted in the last few years by the overturning of Roe v. Wade and the subsequent actions by radical Republican legislators, and how these elections have gone Democrats' direction when they weren't expected to, or gone in the pro-abortion rights direction on these direct ballot initiatives. You put all of that into the bowl and mix it around, and I think you get a Biden victory. And I will always say, whenever I make such a prediction, that that doesn't change what we do. We go out there, we work hard to make sure that indeed it takes place. But I am hopeful, fundraising-wise, the polling shift-wise, and the understanding among Americans, at least some, that Trump threatens democracy, Trump being a civilly liable rapist, Biden having a historic policy record, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Hopefully that will end up leading to the logical conclusion by Americans in November. Make sure you are subscribed to this YouTube channel.